Okay. All right. So we'll just begin as people are rolling in. Good to be with you all as we today we spend this evening in practice and in reflection. I'd like to just begin as we normally open our Thaypassana with chanting the three refuges, and this chant is an invitation and a reminder for us to come back to taking true refuge. And the refuge in the triple gems are our protection on this spiritual path. When we take refuge in the triple gem, what is it that we are really taking refuge in? To take refuge in the Buddha means that we could take refuge in the historical Buddha or an awakened being, or it is that Buddha nature within ourselves, knowing that we have the possibility, the capacity to awaken and to reach into that part within ourselves that is of compassion, of wisdom, that part within us that is able to withstand the worldly winds. So to take refuge in the Buddha nature within ourselves, we are calling in our faith, our belief within that awakened quality that is available to us as it has been for those who have fully attained and develop and perfect those qualities, such as the Buddha himself. And to take refuge in the Dharma is to take refuge in the teachings of the Buddha, the teachings of truth, the teachings of how things really are. It could be the teaching of nature. That is the Dharma, is also the teaching of cause and effect. And when we take refuge in the Dharma within ourselves, we are taking refuge in experiencing this truth within our own body, being able to know it internally and externally, that it becomes more than just an intellectual knowing, like something that we've heard or read about, but really in our practice, we are taking refuge in the Dharma within us, that the process of life that is happening within us, impermanence within us. And how we can also be a witness to suffering and restlessness within us, knowing that that right there is the Dhamma within us happening. And then the third is to take refuge in the Sangha. The Sangha can mean the monastic Sangha, so those who have dedicated their life to this path, the Buddhist path. And then the Sangha can also mean of like minded friends and practitioners when we come together and with the intention to practice together. That in itself is a Sangha. And so when we meet like this, we get to water that seed of taking refuge in the Sangha. Oftentimes, when we are in our daily life, we take refuge in many things. We take refuge in our phone and social media and watching various shows and listening to different things and in certain conversations and certain foods and sense pleasure. So we are always taking refuge in something, whether it is intentional or not. And here we are intentionally taking refuge in uh, this that truly sets us free, that leads to a deep peace and a true happiness, a lasting happiness that comes with taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And so I will share the chant on the screen. You are welcome to join me in the chant, or if you'd like, you're welcome to just allow yourself to just listen and let the words steep and penetrate. And as you hear the chant, and as maybe you're hearing your voice as you're chanting, or my voice, letting your mind and body be one with the words, with the melody, giving the mind a chance to take a break, to rest from all the thinking, and to really sense into the experience of the words of the Dharma, and allowing the words to carry you back home into your heart space. And I will begin by inviting 3 sounds of the bell. And as you hear the sound of the bell, allow the sound of the bell to bring the mind back home to the body. Returning home to the in-breath and the out-breath. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and of love. Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. Namo Sangaya. Dwelling in the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. Dwelling in the refuge of Dharma, I learn to open many doors on the path of transformation. Dwelling in the refuge of Sangha, shining light that supports me, keeping my practice free of obstruction. Taking refuge in the Buddha in myself, I aspire to help all people recognize their own awakened nature, realizing the mind of love. Taking refuge in the Dharma in myself, I aspire to help all people fully master the ways of practice and walk together on the path of liberation. Taking refuge in the Sangha in myself, I aspire to help all people build fourfold communities, to embrace all beings and support their transformation. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana. In every kind of birth, may I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble Lord. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. lastly, we'll chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Dear friends, let us find a comfortable posture to settle in, and checking in with the body and seeing, what does your body need from you today and in this moment in time. And maybe you begin with some stretches, stretching your shoulder, neck, rocking back and forth to find that comfortable posture. And maybe today that posture is standing or walking or lying down. Taking a moment to arrive. Or maybe it's sitting in a way that is most supportive and nourishing for the body and all of its activity of today. So giving yourself this time to arrive, to settle, to choose a meditative posture that is available to you today. And as you land in this body, you might ask yourself, What does my body need from me in this moment? More energy or more relaxation? And we begin by coming home to the in breath and the out breath. Breathing in, feeling the energy wind coursing through the body. Breathing out, just like thick black smoke leaving the body. Is there a possibility to let go of the mental busyness, to drop the doing, and to give yourself permission to pause in this time? And with each in breath, inviting that healthy and nourishing breath in, feeling the abundance of energy, the abundance of relaxation and calm settling into the body. And with each out breath, setting down the busyness, the doing. And notice if there's room to soften the spine, the neck, the shoulders, softening all the muscles in the face. Maybe tucking your chin slightly towards the chest if you're in a sitting or walking posture or standing posture. Or maybe allowing the neck to rest back. The eyes may be open with a downward gaze, or eyes may be closed. Please become aware that there's a body sitting here. There's a body breathing. Can you get in touch with what breathing feels like here and now? Perhaps you'll notice the movement of the breath and the shoulders and chest rising and falling, the belly expanding and contracting with the breath. Maybe you can hear the sound of the breath in the back of the throat or at the nostrils. You can anchor your attention here, or you can anchor your attention to sounds in the space that has you know that you are here. It's the sound of my voice calling you back, anchoring you into what's happening right here and right now. Or maybe the anchor is a sensation you're experiencing internally. The invitation is to bring forth this interest, this curiosity for what is happening. How are you experiencing this moment as you bring your sense doors inward? attention rests at your anchor of choice, or you might move to another anchor that may be more supportive for this moment. In each moment, we're balancing our effort to remain alert, awake, and relaxed. How much energy does this moment call for? How much soothing and calming and tranquilizing should take place to maintain this equilibrium, this balance of mind and heart? This balance is like attention landing very delicately, like a butterfly landing on a flower petal. Resting your attention on the anchor of choice. Each in breath is an invitation to calm and soothe, allowing the breath to take care of us, letting go of any way in which we might be holding on to our posture. The out breath is that invitation to soften, to set down the preoccupation of mind, to let go of any way in which we hold on to our postures, or the way we tighten up, allowing the breath to smooth out on its own, simply by being aware. The breath takes care of us. And in a moment, you'll hear one sound, the bell. If you feel called to continue in this posture, we can do so. Or maybe there's another posture that might be more supportive for this moment. The invitation is to listen and allow and honor what your body needs. And even in that transition, you can maintain your practice, mindful of the breath, mindful of the body, mindful of shifting posture. Notice what it feels like to inhabit the body in this moment. Is there a need to make any micro adjustments to your posture? Notice the quality of your breath. What does the breath feel like in this moment? Note if the breath is long or short, shallow or deep. If the breath is coarse or smooth. And does this moment call for an increase in energy? Maybe to breathe a little bit harder, or to lengthen and deepen the breath, or maybe to just let go of any effort of breathing, letting the breath become coarse or subtle or exactly as it is. See if you can make way for this intelligence to flow. Wherever you are now, I invite you to narrow your field of awareness, to rest where you feel the breath is most alive in the body. Maybe it's in the belly or in the chest or at the tip of the nose, coming in through the nostrils and out the nostrils. But resting your attention to this region, making that your object of meditation. Notice the breath coming and going, rising and falling. And notice sensations that accompanies the breath. The gross sensations and the subtle sensations. All sensations. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. I am blooming as a flower. I am fresh as the dew. I am solid as a mountain. I am firm as the earth. I am free. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. I am water reflecting what is real, what is true. And I feel there is space deep inside of me. I am free. I am free. I am free. Dear friends, I hope you've had a nourishing practice. I'd like to share a story today, a Zen story. Usually the fourth Tuesday of the month, I offer to you a story for reflection. The story is about an old man and his this bundle of sticks. So there is in a temple in the Far East, there is a Buddhist master sitting in his room studying scriptures when he heard a knock at the door. One of his disciples entered the room and made this unusual request. His disciple asked to be excused from working meditation that day, to be outside and to have a day off from his duties. So the monk was conscientious and hardworking. And so the master immediately knew that that the monk's practice was deepening. He could see that the monk was really close to realizing something deep. He was close to enlightenment. And so the master excused the monk and released him from his duties. And he told him to go take a quiet, contemplative walk in the hills close to the monastery. And so the monk went on his walk mindfully along this path that was winding its way up the hill. He felt at ease and this deep sense of peace as he was on his walk. He could feel the sun on his face. He could hear the wind blowing the tall grasses. And there was this beautiful rustling sound of the leaves on the trees. The birds sang from the treetops. And at the same time, he could sense that there was something that he was on the verge of. There was something that was holding him back. Although he felt at peace, he sensed that he couldn't go further in his Buddhist training, and that something lay beyond his current experience. You know that feeling when you know something is coming, when you're ready to have a breakthrough and you're close to it, but it's not quite there yet. So that's the feeling that he had. And he just wasn't sure how to get there. So he came to a long, straight section of this path that he was walking on. And it stretched out far ahead for a mile or more beyond him, beyond what he could see. And then there was a shape that appeared in the horizon, and it was slowly moving towards him. He stopped, unsure as to what it was. He squinted his eyes and trying to make out what was coming in his direction. And he realized that it was an old man. He could make out this old man carrying a large bundle of sticks on his back. He couldn't make it out why, but there was something different about this figure coming towards him. This old man seemed to move with a sense of purpose and ease. And there was a rhythm in how he moved that felt like he's never seen this before in another human being. The monk stood there and he was mesmerized as this old man moved towards him and got closer and closer to him. And the monk thought to himself, oh, if he sees me standing here, it would look rude because I'm staring at him. But he couldn't move. He couldn't move away from the road. He was just stunned and mesmerized by this old man as he's coming closer and closer to him. So by now the man was close and he walked up to the monk, and the monk could see that this man wore simple clothes. He had sweat pouring down from his brows and his face. As he was toiling with these sticks that he was carrying in the hot sun. The man's face was wrinkled. You could see that he's aged and has the face of a hardworking man. But when the monk looked at him and looked into his eyes, he could see there was something different about this person. The man greeted the monk and they stared at each other's eyes for a long while. The monk couldn't be sure how long this was, but the monk knew that this man was someone who seemed to be really awake. He must be enlightened. So he asked the old man, Dear sage, how do I realize the truth? The old man smiled at him, paused, and then replied, just let go. As soon as the man finished his sentence, he opened his hand, releasing the rope which was holding his sticks together, and all the sticks came falling down to the ground with a mighty crash. And on hearing this sound, the monk saw the truth. He awakened in that moment. And the monk stood there, taking in what he had just glimpsed and realized. And it felt like he stood there for some time and didn't know how much time had passed by. But frozen and in touch with this profound realization, as he stood there and the man stood there looking at each other, the sticks that had fallen from his back, the old man's back, was now laid across the road. And the monk regained his composure. And then he asked the old man, okay, so what now? Again, the old man smiled, paused, and then replied, just carry on. And the old man bent down with great composure, and with this sense of purpose, he collected the sticks up neatly, and then he tied them in a beautiful knot. And in one smooth, effortless motion, he swung the bundle of sticks back onto his back. Smiling at the monk, he looked into his eyes. He patted his arms gently, and then he went off on his way. The monk knew then that the key to his practice was to let go of his ideas and concepts of what was right and what was wrong. And now that he had done so, he knew that there was nothing special about the future. He just knew that he had to carry on with his daily life, with his daily duties and responsibilities as a monk, practicing and continuing to let go, practicing living fully in each moment, exactly the way it is. So in this story, we see an ordinary man who has come to a profound understanding of the truth, and he still live and be in the world doing the mundane things, but doing it with this sense of purpose, doing it with the sense of ease and joyfully, happily. If that old man was carrying that bundle of stick and he was wishing he was doing something else, I should be doing something else right now. This is not the work I want to do. Or I want to hurry up and be somewhere else right now. Or this isn't it. Or who I am is not this, not a stick carrier. Or whatever other stories he might have. If he had held on to those stories, what would be of him? How would the monk see him as he walked down that path, their encounter would be completely different. And in this encounter of the old man and the monk come to see a person who fully realized what it means to be in this world, to live fully, to be with one's work and one's responsibility, and still be awake in every moment. Similarly, that story about before enlightenment, the novice monk chopped wood and carried water. You'd think that after enlightenment, he'd be doing something else, more noble, more important. But after that, he still chops wood and carries water after enlightenment. And how does this story connect to you in this time of your life, in this stage of life? What do you see is the possibility as to fully come to terms and come to a place of purpose with what you are doing now? And carrying out the work in the world with great composure. What do you need to let go of? What ideas, what concepts, what notions, what ideals? What someday story do you need to set down to live in the now? What expectations need to be subsided to fully embrace how life is offering itself to you now? And is there a possibility to view every obstacle, every challenge as a part of our practice to living fully, to meeting each moment with that smile, like the old man smiling to the monk? And upon meeting these challenges, what do you need to let go of? To let those events pass by or move through you, the emotions. And then upon letting it go, sometimes it's not a physical letting go, it's a mental or emotional letting go. Then being able to say to yourself, all right, let's carry on. Let's dust ourselves off. Let's get back up. Let's wake up to a brand new day or to take another brand new step or breath and carry on. No longer wallowing in the past or in what just happened. No longer carrying the past with us into the present and future, but simply just to carry on with what is in the here and now. And how much of this bundle do we carry around? The bundle of sticks or rocks, that bag that we carry, do we need to set it down? Or is it a bag that we carry, but we know we're carrying it, but there's a new way we relate to carrying that bag or that bundle? In this story, we can capture the simplicity of this teaching. However, maybe in our life, we grapple with this because it seems much more complex and hard. And we can come to see how tightly we cling to things, our attachment to things, and also our fear of uncertainty. What would happen if I let go? What would be of me or of my identity or of this habit pattern or role I play? What would happen if I let it go? There's this degree of uncertainty that causes us to stay, to cling, to hold on. So while the teaching is simple, it, it challenges every part of us in reality, in actuality. To apply it would mean that there are some parts of us that needs to let go, and that part of us has to die. That part of our identity, of our ego, of our mind, of our beliefs, of the thing we've become in the world, of that fantasy we have that we've been trying to work towards, but now in this letting go. What will take place? What will take its place? Perhaps something will take its place, yet we don't see or know it yet. Or maybe nothing will take its place, and there's this vastness, this openness into the unknown. I'd like to pause here and invite you into this reflection, or just perhaps what is coming up for you as you hear this, what's coming up in your world. Or maybe it's, I don't want to let go of anything, Trina. And I am unwilling. I don't want to carry on. I'm comfortable here. Someone in morning meditation the other day says, I don't know why I like to just wallow in my frustration and in my suffering. And it's like this muck that I just don't want to step out of. I see it, but I just am so comfortable being in my muck. Even that awareness that we're still holding on could give us insight into the first noble truth that yes, I'm suffering. I'm suffering from attachment. I'm suffering from holding on to something that I know I quote unquote should let go of. So there's maybe an intellectual part of us that knows that if I let this go, there might be something better. But then the habit energy is to cling and hold on. And letting go in itself here is a practice. Maybe we start in our daily life with little things that we let go of. Little tiny preferences or little things that annoy us. Maybe we can I think I can live with this. see how much I can tolerate or build my threshold in letting go of, let's say, a clean house or perfectionism or something, or a certain habit our roommate or family member has. So we build that muscle of letting go of how we want things to be or how people should be, and opening ourselves up to letting go and then carrying on. Mhm. It could be a fun challenge for us to look at.
So, hi everybody. My name's Ellen. So when the cherry blossoms appeared after that, like what was it, a couple weeks ago, we had all that sun and the flowers all came out. And then the weather went bad and it became really windy. And so already the cherry blossom trees are starting to fade and clear the flowers. And so I've been practicing letting go because it just seems so short. I wanted it to stay so much longer.
Mhm.
So thank you very much, Trina. This has been very helpful.
Mhm. Mhm. Time. Mhm.
I feel like it's unnecessary to raise my hand. Yeah, I think I really deeply resonated with this talk tonight, probably the most out of any talk you've given, because I like to think that the first noble truth is like the one that you could spend like countless lifetimes, like really wrapping yourself around. And the what I let go with was I felt for a really long period of my life, I was like thinking of myself as somebody who could stand outside of human ugliness. That makes any sense? Like there were periods of time in my life where people just would got swept up and I think this happens over and over again in your life and in culture. You'll see people get swept up into judgments, swept up into thinking that into hypocrisy, into thinking that you're better than people or people are worse than you. And so I thought if I could just like be the most virtuous and good person, that it would like that's what would lead me to like, I don't know, uh the best life for myself. And I was a crisis worker for like 7 months and it just like drove me crazy. And I found out that that version of myself like would never lead me to where I thought it was going to. And I just felt like I eventually I like it fell apart and I stopped doing that job and I just felt this like complete weightlessness when I was done with it. And I remember writing because I like to write to kind of process and I like to write literature and poetry and stuff. And the line that really jumped out with me that I still remember is that the noble path is not a narrow stream, but the river's raging mouth emptying into the sea, which to me meant that like forcing yourself into this incredibly small view of yourself and what life is and what right and wrong is and what a person should be like and shouldn't be like is you're missing this life for what it is. And so I just kind of realized that like I don't know, like I just don't view myself that way anymore. I don't think I'm a good person or a bad person. I kind of just think I'm a person who's gonna who's gonna fuck up and not fuck. And sorry, maybe I shouldn't curse. I don't know. But yeah, I just kind of like realized that you just gotta like let life flow through you and not put so much not try to like fit it into your idea of what it is.
Mhm. Yeah, Thank you, Tyler, for that reflection. Yeah. To see that we are this body is a vessel, and everything that comes through, emotions, thoughts, feelings, sensation, are like waves or currents that flow through us. And in the moment that we block it or push it away, resist it or cling to it, we are now going against this natural wave or flow or frequency. And we are either overexerting our effort and energy, or we are misspending our energy. And to flow and allow life to flow through us is that that recognition, that realization of awakening, of enlightenment. Allowing hurt and pain and sadness to come in and allowing it to flow through us and to come out of us. Allowing all the arrays of human emotions and experiences to move through us. The fallacy is when we believe that I shouldn't be feeling this, or this shouldn't be happening to me, or the weather shouldn't be like this. Mm. And the moment of recognition, of change, of impermanence, of all of this that's happening is there's no one in charge. There's not an I that's in control of this. That moment is a moment of awakening to how things really are, to the truth. Awakening to the Dharma. Awakening to what really matters. And the things that don't matter drops away. And letting go happens. And letting go is then just natural and easy. And it's like but of course. In the moment when seeing the cherry blossom fade and the weather changing, it's like, but of course that's gonna happen. But of course things fall apart. And that's the recognition. And when we, in the moment of recognition, we are one with nature. We're one with our life and with others. We are one. And we experience joy, even in that moment when the flower petal fades in color or wilts. There's a joy to have been able to see it. There's joy to experience this aliveness of our experience. To hurt so deeply, to love so deeply, to feel the aliveness of anger in us fully. That's that feeling of being alive. Awakening is aliveness. When we're not awake, we are dead inside. We are numb. And we're in forgetfulness and darkness. So awakening to me is this aliveness. Alive in every moment. alive to all of it. We feel our feelings more. We feel suffering more. And we feel happiness and joy more fully, more deeply too. And that's, to me, what it means to be an awakened human being in this life. It's not some state that we reach only when we're in deep meditation. Sure, that those moments are, I encourage everyone to have those moments of samadhi, but also it can be in this waking moment, in movement, in this experience of being with life, being with what's in front of us fully, and practicing letting go, and practicing carrying on, but shaking it off and not making it mean anything. And at the same time, also living from that place that everything matters. So we do everything with intentionality and with that sense of purpose, even if there's no meaning to it all. So engage, but unattached. Such as we can be unattached to material things and our possessions, but while we have it, we take good care of it. It could look like that as well. Whether that be relationships or material objects or our roles, we're unattached to our titles, but we take good care and we do our best in our titles, in the roles we play, in the positions that we have, whether at home or at work or in whatever space we're in. Fully mastering our craft, being the best we can with integrity, yet at the same time unattached. We're not over identified with it. This is just what's here now. And applying the sense of purpose. And then when it's gone, when it's time, we let go. And we carry on with grace and with just this levity, just like that monk who, or the old man who dropped the bundle of sticks. And then quietly and joyfully picking it up and with precision tying it onto his back and carrying on. So when things fall apart, can we meet those moments with grace and with this kind of understanding that, yes, things fall apart, but of course, and then let's pick ourselves back up and put things together again and carry on. What's here for you now? What's coming up for you? Can everyone think of something that you are already considering letting go? Maybe you know for a while now the thing that you were supposed to let go of. But maybe that thing that is still hung on to is the obstacle, is the obstruction, or maybe it's part of the practice to hang on to it, to experience the depth of suffering that comes with holding on to it. That's okay too. Because in suffering, we encounter our greatest teacher. We can see the Dharma really at play when we hold on to something. Suffering becomes our greatest teacher. Suffering reveals to us the Buddha's teaching. And when we see it, how can we not smile? How can we not, maybe for me, when I see it, I laugh. I think it's so true. And for me, there's a absurdity that comes with that. Seeing my silly self, creating my own suffering, and then clinging to that suffering, and then dragging myself through it. And then in that moment, I know I'm supposed to let go, but I can't, or I don't want to. I want to just replay that story again and again. But every part of me wants to be free. But then there's this habit energy of feeding it. And then that moment comes where you just are just so tired, so done with the suffering. It's no longer that enjoyable. Now it's just exhausting. And so you do what needs to be done. You say what needs to be said from the heart and let go. And the heart is set free at that point. And in that freedom is where we realize the teachings on another level. This is how it works. This is the formula. This is the equation and the answer to that equation. It's like this. The more we practice and strengthen that muscle of letting go, a future moment will come where we are challenged again. And we recall the moment, the success that we've had in letting go. And that new moment where we are faced with the challenge of letting go, we now have this inner confidence and faith. And so when we are invited or tugged to be let go, it becomes easier because that faith, that belief, that confidence is there. We've known it. We've touched into it within ourselves. And now we can call it in, that confidence in. And letting go becomes natural and easier. Or maybe if it's still hard, there's a part of us that is aware that this is the process. And so maybe we still have to go through it. It feels arduous and painful, but that confidence, that faith, that trust we have in the process of letting go helps us and guides us through the next one. Anyone with some burning thoughts or comments you'd like to share before we close? You're welcome to double dip.
Maybe what I need to let go of is the fear of being seen as the guy who likes his own voice. Because I always want to say something, but I never do. Because it's like you don't want to be that guy. But maybe you should just be that guy. Uh, you had me thinking about death, Trina, to be honest. Because it's like that's what you think of when people talk about letting go, you know? And so that's where my mind went. And yeah, I guess I've just had like I've had a lot of death in my life, just even when I was pretty young. So I think about it probably more than a lot of people did growing up. So for me personally, I just I have like two reactions to it a lot when I think about it. One is I get really sad because I don't know. I mean, it is a tragedy that your life is lost and that you won't ever do anything that you love again. And I get and I've almost died once in my life, and so it's pretty real. Like I don't have that illusion that I'm not going to die. I actually do understand like I'm going to die. So I guess one would be the sadness, and then other times, like not in a really depressed way, but it feels like relieving sometimes that you're going to die. Like you can just like think about it and be like, oh yeah, like I'm going to die, and it's like you don't have to take the hardships or whatever of your life so seriously. I guess that's the way. Yeah, I have two mind frames on it. One is that I get really sad that everything I love is going to go away, but then the other part is, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I appreciate you saying, Tyler, that there's like two mindsets. So one is the very human side, right, of the experience that it is sad. And then there's the, enlightened way of thinking, right? The enlightened mind that recognizes the ultimate, the absolute truth about the experience as well. Hmm. Hmm. No, thank you for sharing that. And to honor both of them, it's rather than it being a conflict, sometimes we pose these things against each other, but it's more of it's a it's a both and there could be a sadness about it. And then there's also a deep understanding that this is how things are. This is the truth about life, about human being. Mhm. Mhm.
So I haven't really announced this to Trina yet, but after 2.5 years, my marriage has ended as of February 28th. And so it's kind of like the end of something, the death of something, the letting go of something. And then also, I was kind of chuckling because as you were sharing, Trina, I was like, well, I put the 180-pound bundle down and let it go, and I'm not picking it back up. And so there's a part of me that there's the sadness of the end of something so beautiful that allowed me to awaken in so many ways. And then there's the other part that's just very joyful and happy to be moving into a new way of being, a new space, kind of at a very perfect moment of the beginning of spring, and just embracing new beginnings. I'll be carrying some wood, but it'll be a little different. Because to be honest, I actually love carrying the water and chopping the wood, and the mundane pieces of life, just that simplicity of folding laundry or doing the dishes or whatever it may be, helping another one, serving someone in some capacity. That's what sparks joy for me. It's what makes me feel so centered and grounded, and yeah.
Yeah, sounds to me like in the letting go, you've regained your life force again, your life energy again.
So I went inward for a little while to process that.
Really good. I'm so happy to hear that. Mm. Mm. Mhm. Mm. Mm. Any other shares? Want to make space, Jordan, in case you'd want to share anything before we close. And if you feel like remaining silent, that's okay too. Mhm.
Sorry, it got dark.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for sharing. Yeah, the story landed with me on a lot of different levels, and I wasn't really sure what to pick out. um, but yeah, I guess it's as simple as just letting go of like small things that can ruin your day. I had that today, and someone smashed the back window of my car, and it's really bummed me out all day. But then kind of sitting here, I was able to let go and just know that um that it's not that big of a deal. And I think in some ways it does prepare you for things like that, prepare you for just dealing with like, yeah, I think every time you like latch onto something and then let go, especially just the day-to-day stuff, it gets easier and easier and you're able to let go quicker. Yeah, but then also bigger things, the ideas about identity and yeah, so yeah, really touching story. Thank you for sharing.
Sorry, Jordan, about your car. That's no fun. That always sucks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah, as you're sharing that, it has me recount the number of times my car was broken into when I lived in Chicago, and then the number of parking tickets I received. And through the 11 years of living there, it was definitely a practice. And each time seeing my response and reaction to it, and then as I practiced and went to a lot of retreats and meditated more often, all of a sudden getting a parking ticket was like it was like someone handing me a receipt for something I just bought, you know? It was like, oh, okay. Charity to the city. Like I didn't even blink. There wasn't even like this tension. It was like, oh, okay. It's a piece of paper. And then now I'm gonna exchange, some monetary thing to it. So that was definitely a practice, and then having my car broken into too, so I know how that is. I mean, you've had, your window and such, and so it's not fun. It's definitely an inconvenience, and at the same time, I see your levity in it, that it's just, all right, carry on. You just do the next thing, get it repaired, and carry on, right? And that's the we get to choose the experience we have. Like upon things happening to us, we get to choose how we experience what happened to us. Mhm. I can have that moment for 5 minutes, or I can have that moment of anger and blame and for 5 hours or days on it.
Mm.
And so this practice gives us this capacity to choose. First, know that we have choice, and then to choose how we experience what happened. Mhm. And that's powerful. That's liberating. Mhm. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Mhm. And I want to just again give credit that the story it's a Zen story. I don't know the roots of it, but it's a Zen story um, that have that I've heard from koans and has been shared with me by a good friend, a dear friend, and I thought it was really appropriate for tonight. So next Tuesday we'll be reciting and reflecting on the 5 mindfulness training, um, and the 5 mindfulness trainings are basically the natural law, the natural law. And when we abide by the natural law, um, things really start to shape up for us. We start to see the fruit of our practice. We start to see our life having more ease and peace and happiness, true happiness. So I invite you to join me as we reflect on the 5 mindfulness training next week, and feel free to invite those who you think may benefit from this as well. Um, and uh, and there's our sitting group that meets every morning. Wake up together at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, and in our morning group we also have these reflection, but slightly a little bit shorter as far as the time, the length of time. So 30 minutes of meditation, followed by a short Dharma, a talk, and then reflection and sharing. And so, um, thank you to you for being here. And your presence matter, and your practice matters. And if you weren't here, I wouldn't be here. So uh, thank you for coming, and thank you for your love and your interest in the Dharma, and for your practice. Your practice supports me, and your listening supports me too. So I wish you well as we move into the night. May you have good rest, and may you dwell in the ultimate, and may you let go and set yourself free. So, bowing to the Buddha nature within each one of you. And I will invite the bell, and we'll take a few deep breaths together and depart. There you go, peacefully and joyfully and mindfully into the night, friends. Thank you. Wishing you well. Ready for takeoff to infinity and beyond.